This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMudsta to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game is another one with monocolored decks, and it was filmed at the Face Tour Montreal Open in 2021. I should also warn you that this game has a deck that plays lands in front, so prepare yourself for that if you don't like it. I am playing Krenko Mob Boss, keeping Soul Ring, 2 Snow-Covered Mountains, Fire Diamond, Battle Mage's Bracers, Heraldic Banner, and Dragon Fodder. My good friend Phil is playing Skithiryx the Blight Dragon, keeping 2 Swamps, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, Chainer's Edict, Phyrexian Arena, and Underworld Connections. New to the channel is Kevin's friend Kin, playing Odric Lunar Marshal, keeping 3 Snow-Covered Plains, Smothering Tithe, Esper Sentinel, Council's Judgment, and Soul Ring. Kevin is playing his Adeline Resplendent Cathar deck, keeping an Esper Sentinel as well, an Idol of Oblivion, Bounty Agent, and 4 Plains. Kevin wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a Plains and taps it for a white for Esper Sentinel. Kin draws and plays a Snow-Covered Plains, casting Soul Ring, and he passes turn. Phil draws, plays a Swamp, and passes to me. I drop a Snow-Covered Mountain and cast my own Soul Ring. Kevin draws, and I cast a Fire Diamond and pass. Kevin plays a Plains for turn and casts Bounty Agent, passing to Kin. Kin draws and then plays another Snow-Covered Plains. He's got enough mana for Smothering Tithe at this point and passes. Phil draws, and Kin gets a treasure token. Phil then plays a Swamp and passes. I draw, not paying for the Tithe, and play a Snow-Covered Mountain. I cast Heraldic Banner, paying the 1 for the Sentinel on Kevin's side. I name red as it comes in, and then cast Dragon Fodder, making 2 tokens and passing. Kevin draws and plays a Plains, and then casts Adeline. He moves to combat and swings the Esper Sentinel at Kin and the Bounty Agent at me, and Adeline makes a 1/1 token going at everyone. I trade a Goblin token for the Bounty Agent thanks to my banner, and we all then take our damage. With nothing else, Kevin passes. Kin draws and plays a Stoneforge Mystic, going into his library to find an equipment card. He reveals a Hammer of Nazan, and then casts his own Esper Sentinel, and then the Hammer, which he's able to auto-equip onto the Stoneforge Mystic as it comes in, and passes to Phil. Phil plays an Ancient Tomb in his main phase, and taps it, losing 2 to cast Mind Stone. Kin and Kevin get to draw a card, and Phil then has enough to cast Phyrexian Arena before passing to me. I draw for turn, and much like everyone else at the table, don't pay for the Tithe tax. I play a Snow-Covered Mountain and cast Ruby Medallion. I then play a Battle Mage's Bracers, and after all that, pass back to Kevin. Kevin draws and plays a Plains. He pays 1 for Reconnaissance, and casts his own Heraldic Banner, naming white as it comes in. He moves to combat, and Phil responds with Slaughter Pact on Adeline. Kevin then swings the Esper Sentinel and a human token at Phil, and 1 token at Kin and I both. Kin blocks the Stoneforge Mystic, and Kevin removes it from combat with Reconnaissance, and Phil and I then take our hits. Once damage is done and before leaving combat, Kevin uses Reconnaissance to untap his team. With nothing else, Kevin passes. Kin draws and plays a Plains. He then casts Odric, and then follows up with Sword of Feast and Famine, equipping it onto the Esper Sentinel thanks to the Hammer trigger. Kevin uses Swords to Plowshares on Odric before he can trigger. Kin then gains some life, and he swings his Esper Sentinel at Phil. Phil takes the 3 and discards a card while Kin untaps his lands. In his second main phase, Kin then casts an Angel of Destiny, passing to Phil. Phil's upkeep has him paying the Slaughter Pact upkeep cost with the Ancient Tomb and loses 2, and then he draws a card and loses 1 from the Phyrexian Arena and draws for turn. He plays an Herb Warp for turn, and then passes to me. I draw, paying the 2 for Smothering Tithe with my Soul Ring. I then cast Krenko, and move to equip the Bracers to him, and pass. Kevin draws, and plays a Rogue's Passage. He casts an Authority of Consuls, and I respond by activating Krenko and paying an extra for the Bracers trigger, making a total of 6 goblins. He thinks about attacking, but decides against it, and passes. Kin plays a War Room in his main phase, and then drops Elesh Norn, which comes in tapped, and gives Kevin 1 life. This takes out most of my goblins, and he then moves to combat. He swings the Angel and Esper Sentinel at Kevin, and Kevin responds before damage with Heliod's Intervention, blowing up the Sword of Feast and Famine, the Hammer, and Smothering Tithe. Phil then responds as well with a Baleful Mastery, and targets Elesh Norn, letting Kin draw a card off of it for a reduced cost. Kevin effectively takes no damage thanks to the Angel, and Kin gains 5 life. After combat is done, Kin plays an Arcanomancer's map to find 2 snow-covered plains, putting them to hand, and he passes to Phil. At the end of turn, Phil cycles Baron Moore to draw a card. Phil loses 1 for the arena, drawing a card, and draws for turn. He then taps the Ancient Tomb for 2 mana, losing 2, and casts a Jet Medallion. Once that's done, he drops Ophiomancer and passes. Phil gets a Snake token on my upkeep from the Ophiomancer, and Kevin gains 1 from it coming in. I then draw for turn and cast a Beetleback Chief, giving Kevin more life and passing turn. Kevin draws and plays a Plains. He casts Keeper of the Accord, and Phil responds by countering it with Wither and Boon, losing some life. Kevin then follows up with a Mentor of the Meek and passes to Kin. Kin draws and recasts his commander, Odric. Moving to combat, all of his creatures gain Flying and Double Strike, and he swings all out at Kevin. Kevin once more effectively takes nothing thanks to the Angel, but Kin does gain 8 life. Once that's done, he passes to Phil. Phil loses 1 to the arena, drawing for it, and then drawing for turn. He plays a Reliquary Tower, and then casts Underworld Connections. He taps the land with Underworld Connections on it to draw a card and lose a life, and then casts a Plaguecrafter. With the Plaguecrafter on the stack, I respond by activating and copying Krenko's ability to make a total of 12 Goblin tokens, and Kevin jumps up to 60 life. The Plaguecrafter comes in, and we all have to sacrifice a creature, with Kevin sacrificing his Mentor, Kin sacrificing the Stoneforge Mystic, I lose a Goblin, and Phil sacrifices his Snake token. He then passes to me. Phil makes another Snake on my upkeep, and Kevin gains 1. I draw for turn, and play a Snow-Covered Mountain, and cast Goblin Bombardment. Moving to combat, I swing everything except Krenko at Kevin, and he takes 29, and I then pass turn. Kevin draws and casts a Loyal Warhound, and then plays a Plains for turn. He casts Idol of Oblivion and passes to Kin. Kin plays a Plains, and then drops Avacyn, Angel of Hope, and I respond by activating Krenko and paying to the Bracer's ability to get a copy of it, gaining 45 more Goblin tokens, and Kevin gains 45 more life. I then sacrifice 6 Goblins to kill the Angel of Destiny, and then Avacyn finally comes into play, and Kevin gains 1. Kin follows up with a Mirroring Crusader, and Kevin gains another life. Moving to combat, he gets an Odric trigger, and swings Odric and the Sentinel at Kevin for 8 damage, and then passes turn. Phil loses 1 life, drawing from the arena, and then draws for turn. He then activates Underworld Connections to draw another card and lose another life. And then taps the Ancient Tomb for 2, losing 2 life, to help cast Grey Merchant of Asphodel. It comes in, and Kevin gains 1 life, and then drains the table for 8 thanks to Devotion, and Phil gains 24. With nothing else, he passes to me. I draw for turn, and in my main phase cast Muxus, Goblin Grandee. Muxus comes in and I get Goblin Chain Whirler and an Impulsive Pilferer, with the Chain Whirler dealing 1 to each of my opponents, and each of their Planeswalkers, which don't exist. Moving to combat, I swing 31 Goblins at Kevin, and the rest at Kin. Kevin then gets taken out, and afterwards, I activate Krenko and make a copy of the ability to make an approximate of a Googleplex of Goblins, and shoot everyone with Goblin Bombardment for the win. Game review time. So I think in a game where there's no blue or green, mono white can actually do pretty well, especially when your commander is Adeline. She's quite aggressive, especially when you consider that her trigger goes off even if she's not attacking, just as long as a creature's attacking, and it goes at each opponent no matter what, which just adds up to a ton of tokens so quickly. In a similar vein, a turn 2 Smothering Tithe certainly turned the tide in Kin's favor, and he was easily able to cast whatever he drew into. That, plus pretty much having a stacked hand including Esper Sentinel, allowing him to fill up his hands when people were casting spells, certainly seemed to keep him in the game. I was a bit disappointed he wasn't able to kill someone with the Angel of Destiny, but hopefully he'll be back in the future. Phil certainly did a number on his own face, and unfortunately he wasn't playing Villas, where he could have used that damage to his advantage. He did have some clutch removal spells though, so I gotta hand it to him in that case. And last but not least, I'm always happy playing Krenko, and even happier when I win. Considering I was playing against mono white and mono black decks, which often run a ton of board wipes, we didn't see any of them in this game. Couple that with that new Battle Mage's Bracers, and Krenko got out of hand very quickly. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated.